I would give a lot up before I would give up a penny later. I would. At this point in time, I'm so grateful.
He's come to realize that, taking that well, I guess, then it's time for you to take on the projects and stuff. But,
You can see how the much more
What an amazing collaboration that was. Good morning. My name is Susan Tarragano, and I serve on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. It's my delight to welcome you all this morning, whether you are here in person or joining us virtually. This is a welcoming congregation where everyone is welcome just as we are. Let me share with you a few announcements. You can find these and more on the sheet entitled Connect at the back of your bulletin this morning. The Social Justice Council would like everyone, members, friends, and visitors, to fill out and turn in the interest surveys you received as you came in. This will help us offer you the work that feeds your soul. You can leave the surveys at the back of the sanctuary. Thank you so much. This Sunday, right after the service, the Social Justice Council will have a 30-minute meeting in the Fellowship Hall for the Voting Justice team and anyone interested in working on election issues. We are writing letters addressing gun violence to our U.S. senators and will mail them as a group. Thank you for making this a place of warmth and kindness every time we gather across all of our differences. Welcome.
Good morning. I want to add my welcome here to UUCS, both to those of you that are here in the sanctuary with us and those of you joining virtually. My name's Ruth Stanton, and I am delighted to be your worship associate today. I hope you enjoyed the anthem. We enjoyed singing and chiming. To light our chalice, I am reading from The Fool, which is by Brandon Kiefer. This is the basic idea of the fool, a character who is unafraid to aim high, to try new things, and to face the unknown. Jung describes the fool as being a potential future, meaning that through various attempts and failures, the fool gains experience. As the fool gains experience, they build their character and eventually develops into the sage. And now we're going to stand as you're willing and able to join in singing hymn number 319, Ye Earthborn Children of a Star. And we're going to do verses 1 through 3. Our congregation has developed the tradition of the Rippling Bowl. We invite you forward, if you wish, to place a stone or a shell in our lovely water bowl. The placement of stones and shells represents the release of joys and concerns into the water. The ripples we create remind us that joys shared ripple out and are multiplied, and sorrows shared ripple out and are diminished. You may now come forward and place a stone or shell in the water. I will place one for each of you that are joining us virtually.
Wish would go away.
was fabulous. Loved it. Our congregation created a covenant to describe how we hope to be with each other and how we hope to move in the world. Please join me now in saying our covenant together. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Thank you for joining me in that. It sounds really great up here. I'm thinking back to the early pandemic days when the sanctuary was empty except for less than 10 people. So it was wonderful. Now that we are in a covenantal state of mind, let's get ready to greet each other. You can rise and move about or remain seated if you prefer. And remember, whether greeting your long-lost friend or your brand-new friend, please check in as to how they might like to be greeted. Warm eye, crinkling smiles, bows, elbow bumps, fist bumps, and even hugs can be options. And please remember when you hear Erin, our fabulous pianist and vocalist, when she starts to play, please make your way to your seats. You may now greet each other. Well, I think our sanctuary warms up a lot after those greetings, and it's not just the temperature. It's a nice thing. It is now time for our offering. We are a generous congregation. Our generosity supports our minister, our wonderful staff, our programs, our facility, and our blessed air conditioning. But our generosity is not just for ourselves. Each month we have a Share the Plate project that funds a project to help others in our community, in our country, and in the world. We give half of all loose cash and change and 100% of any designated funds to our Share the Plate project. And this month, our Share the Plate is going towards school supplies for elementary and middle school students, both through the PASOS program and through Carver Middle School. PASOS is one of our community partners working with immigrants, and Carver is our neighborhood's middle school. We will get a chance to pack these supplies in July, so keep your eyes open for that opportunity. All blessings on your gifts.
Think I'm an ignorant savage. I've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? You don't know. Think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skin, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Thank you, Aaron. And may our gifts enable all our children to paint with the colors of the wind. We have a reading now. It's That's Not How We Do Things Here by Anne Medlock. The holy fool is always considered a dummy by the smart, hip people who really know the score. There's a mysterious blight on the land. Nothing will grow, and no one knows how to break the spell. The holy fool sets out to find the cause, right the wrong, save the people. He's told he can't do it, that he's too dumb, too weak, do something, hearing from all quarters. That's not how we do things here, and you just don't understand. But he goes ahead anyway.
Somebody asked me, what are you talking about this Sunday? And I said, "Fools." And they said, "That sounds about right." I want to thank Stacy Jackson, who has asked for this month's theme. All year, we are doing themes that have come from our congregation. Most from our auction, where you can purchase a sermon, and magically it turns into a whole month of sermons. Stacy has asked that we do a series of reflections on fairy tales and fables and the fool. She sent a playlist of songs that she would like to hear in the services. When we do this with the sermons, the meditations, I ask what music a person might like. She sent this playlist, and I sent it to Aaron and said, "Can you do any of these?" Now, you know, if I was in charge of Aaron's life, which for all of our well-being, we should be grateful that I'm not, I don't think that I would encourage her to drive every other week from Asheville when gas is almost $5 a gallon. What a fool. Aren't we grateful for the gift that she brings? In the tarot deck, the fool walks straight off the cliff into empty space, into the unknown. Thank you for fulfilling the wisdom of that card, Aaron. A fool is the person who feels the blight on the land, the way magic has been depleted, and steps into the unknown to bring magic back into the world, to bring healing to the world. I bet all of us can think of a blight on our land. Join me in silence. Have you ever been in the forest, walking through the woods, and you thought you heard voices? Turn around and there's no one that's there. You keep walking and hearing but never seeing. Or feel someone behind you and you turn to look, but there's no one that's there. Or at night on a mountaintop, turn off your flashlight and find yourself encircled by fairy lights. In the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, southern Appalachians, and the highest of the Appalachian Mountains, highest mountains on the eastern seaboard here in the southeast. It's a story that comes down to us of a people who are watching and who are listening. The Nunahi, the gentle people, a spirit people, a fairy people that the Cherokee would tell stories about. People who looked just like them and lived near them, but were not of them. People who evaded sight except when they wanted to be seen. People you could just hear but not quite glimpse. And the stories that accompany these people all through these forests up into the highlands of Tennessee and North Carolina is that when a traveler has ventured out and become lost, when a hunter is separated from their hunting party and given up for gone, sometimes this people, this gentle people, this spirit people, would come and give that lost traveler rest, give them food, and then recovered, guide them back home. It's just a story. Who among us has not found ourselves sometimes lost and needing companions to help us find our footing again, to find our way home? 7 years ago, my wife and I stepped out into the unknown. I remember so clearly the day that we made the decision that I would leave my job and step into work that had no promise of materializing, no promise of going anywhere. I was working in a wonderful place, a place that was established and that I still feel a great deal of love and affection for, that my family is still connected to. But over time, something had been pulling at me, drawing me further and further out, and connecting me with people that I had not known before, to do work that was kind of on the edge of that place, kind of beyond the main scope of vision and work of that beloved community, especially to do very serious, very concentrated, very demanding anti-oppression work, anti-racism work, anti-poverty work. And as this work slowly began to evolve, the pull that I felt became stronger and stronger. I remember when I was approaching the decision to let go of that job and step into the unknown of that new work. A wonderful, kind, loving person who had supported me in lots of ways, sat me down in a quiet room and said to me, listen, this anti-racism stuff, it's good that you're doing it, it's good, that's important. But this is just a trend that is going to go away in a few years. You don't need to stake your life on this. They did not mean ill. But as we prepare to celebrate Juneteenth next weekend, I think we can reckon with how that trend hasn't gone away for 500 years, and there's still a lot more to do. But what I was intending looked ridiculous. It looked dangerous. It looked foolish. And I have to tell you that if my own 2 children came to me and shared with me plans similar to the ones that I was concocting back then, I would think that they were being foolish as well. It was foolish. There was something pulling. And I remember the day that my wife and I sat alone talking about what it would mean to let go of established work and step out towards this whatever that was pulling. Not an easy conversation. Very hard decision. I remember so vividly her words. She said, "Feels like we're on an adventure." Today we celebrate 18 years of being married to each other. Yeah, I think that you should stand up and applaud her. She's watching right now. Would you give my wife a standing ovation? She more than deserves that, especially after the last 7 years. Feels like we are going on an adventure. Not careless words. The most daring words that I think she said ever since she said, "I do." It was a pretty foolish thing to say as well. Yes, you know me for a while now. It was foolish. Someone who supported us in taking those first steps, providing some care for our family and some financial support, looked at me when we were a couple of years into this adventure, which had been immensely effective and had generated all kinds of work, not only around here, but reaching out beyond here, but which was very hard. It was very strained. This person also sat down with me in a quiet room and said, "I feel like I walked you to the edge of the cliff and told you to jump." And I said, because I was there kind of in free fall already, "Well, I guess that's how we figure out if we can fly." Not wise, maybe brave, but answering this, whatever it was, this pull. And for 2.5 years, I did this work, piecing together a way forward. Unbelievably, these little tiny semi-rural churches, like 30-member churches, tiny places, started reaching out to me, many of them not even knowing what I was doing, asking me if I do a little bit of work for them here, a little bit of work for them there, preach one Sunday a month here, and paying me these tiny stipends, nothing to live on, but cobbled together just enough to make our way, kind of stepping stones down in a path into a future we couldn't see. People showing up to accompany this ludicrous step into nothingness. And I recall so vividly the summer morning, about this time of year, in 2017, when some of that other work had run out, and the anti-oppression work was just soaring, but paying nothing. Moving out into the country now, and a team being built of people willing to devote hours and hours of their time every week to do work with nothing tangible in return. People responding. And everything that we did seemed to anticipate things that would happen in the nation. Shootings and legislations and, oh my God, elections, right? We always seem to be just a step ahead of that, to be ready to speak to it and to do work. But how could it possibly continue? And I remember speaking to that force that had pulled me out and saying, well, where do we go now? I've got a wife and 2 kids. Put my house up for sale. Trying to answer this pull. Where do we go? And the phone ringing. and some now familiar, then unknown voice saying, "This is the UU. Would you come talk to us about doing some work with us?" Out of nowhere. In no way do I expect anyone here to agree with my views on white supremacy and racism and anti-oppression work and anti-poverty work. I never expect anyone to agree with me. I will share with you my views until you throw me out of the sanctuary, because that is part of my purpose with you. And you have had the foolishness to adopt a policy of an open pulpit for whoever is standing here. And I will make good use of that as best I can. What I will ask of you is dialogue and discussion so that we wrestle with the hardest things on this continent and in this world, as long as you'll have me, as long as we'll have each other. I don't expect your agreement. In fact, I welcome your outright disagreement. I really do. Just come talk to me about it. But what I want you to know is that 5 years ago this summer, when you welcomed me as a foolish wanderer you were willing to give a chance to, it allowed all of that other work to rocket forward. The support, the care, the community that you have provided for me and my family and my colleagues for 5 years has allowed that work to move out beyond any range that we ever projected in all of our planning. You've done that. I was a lost traveler with a family coming with me. Resources were thin. And there were a lot of people looking at me like I was looking at the world upside down, standing on my head. What are you doing and why, you fool? What is the career that you have thrown away? And when it looked like the whole thing would fall apart and the traveler would just stay lost, this unseen voice spoke out of the forest. This spirit people emerged around us, and we found our way back to the heart of our home. Who of us have not wandered? And who of us have not been called fools? If you have not been called a fool, I dare you to raise your hand. We'll take care of that right now. My semi-educated guess would be the very fact that you're sitting here or watching, even my wise and benevolent family, the very fact that you are engaged with this community means that in the not-too-distant past, or certainly in the not-too-distant future, someone will say to you, just as they said to me when I asked what I was going to talk about today, someone will call you a fool. A fool. What are you doing with those people? What will be the consequences for your life? For your afterlife? What will happen to you? But something pulls. Something pulls. And a spirit people gathers round. And we find ourselves on this path that others may regard as lost, walking out into thin air over the abyss. We find ourselves suddenly flying. What a brave and beautiful and ridiculous experience. And I want for you to think, now I want you to be generous to yourself. I want you to think what you have brought the world in your small, wonderful life by being such a fool. No, really, I mean it. I want you to think about what it has meant to the world as you've moved through it. That you have been willing to be so ridiculous. So upside down. So brave and so compassionate. Nobody likes to be called a fool, but it's a compliment. A fool is the person who is brave enough to see something is out of tilt. Something is off kilter with the world. And somebody needs to do something about it. But nobody knows what. Nobody knows what. Some spell has enchanted the land. Something has drained the magic. Something has left the fields fallow. Something has corrupted the monarch into a tyrant. Something has impoverished us as a people. And all of our rote responses, all of our institutions are too enmeshed in that to know a way out, able to find a new way. And it takes someone saying, we've got to stand on our heads about this. We've got to leave in order to come back with a solution. We've got to journey out. We've got to claim some part of ourselves that we've been told to neglect. There's some piece of the puzzle that we're missing here. And we need to find it so that we can have life. And the fool is the one willing to risk failure, willing to risk ridicule, to claim that part of themselves that they've been told shouldn't be there. Get rid of that. But no, it's there. It calls to them. And they risk exclusion to bring the fullness of life seated within them already, to share that with the wider community. They risk going out to lands they've been told not to go to. There are strange people and bullets and arrows out there. Don't go. Reptiles whose names we don't know. Rivers you shouldn't cross, and the fool goes. To bring back news of another world, and remedies, and friends, and alliances we never knew we could have. And most of all, just an expanded world with new maps, new ways of being, to reinvigorate our life. The fool is the one who looks with compassion at our world and sees how stuck we are. People dying from their own laws, from their own self-governance. And the fool says, we have got to break this apart and reassemble it in some new way. Because politics is supposed to be about the polis and giving life to ourselves, not watching one another die. Fool steps into the vacuum to just try when everything may fail. And the fool knows that if they fail enough, something might work. And there is a kind of authenticity and credibility that comes from failing so much that you just don't care anymore what people think. You just want people to be better. In all of this, there's something that is pulling that fool forward. It's a concept that we have some trouble talking about here because it becomes quickly entangled in all of those theologies and ideologies that we're trying not to be bound by. We have lots of names for it. Calling, vocation, purpose, mission, vision, hunch, decision. We name it lots of things, and we have lots of stories about it. Some of us think that it comes from just good thinking, analyzing the world and making good decisions about it, and then having the backbone to stick with those decisions. Some of us think that it comes from the community around us, listening intently to what people's lives are and drawing out of that a logic and a reason from which we can then build a new iteration of the community, a deep listening and responsiveness. Some of us think that it comes from a spirit within us, something in our hearts like a light that is us but more than us, and that may speak to us, summon us, especially in our dreams. Some of us hear it as a voice from beyond us, from outside of us, some benevolent being or force that calls us into a future. I hope after these 5 years of foolishness, you know that I do not give a damn where it comes from. I just care that we hear it, that we listen, that we bring to bear all of those stories and resources, whichever ones work for each of us. Because there's a blight on the land, if you hadn't noticed. And fools are needed to bring healing. And I feel it. Feel it. Something pulling the lives of our fellow citizens in this country and in this world. The lives of my own children. The movement, the air through the trees, the stars moving every night over our heads. The voices in the forest whose speakers I cannot see. Someone calling us out. Some people calling us out, urging us to go where other people think is pure foolishness. Walk into the unknown, ready to fail. Because the problems of our world are intractable and difficult. There are not easy answers. Ready to fail. Because there are monarchs who have become tyrants, who lust for our failure. Ready to fail. Because it's when we get lost that we find a new way. So I want to ask us to attend to that pull, wherever it comes from. And to risk once more foolishness. And not only to be fools in ourselves as individuals, which frankly you're all very good at being already, I can tell you. But to also be the spirit people, ready to find one another when we are lost, to give each other respite and recovery, and to guide each other back home. The stories about the gentle people, the spirit people in the mountains, Nunahe. They're part of what I hear in those stories. Is not just that some people who got lost made it back and had stories to tell, but that the fool can take the risk. Because as much courage as it takes for the fool to go on an adventure, to step out, fool can go knowing that just maybe when they fail, the Spirit people will surround them and show themselves and help them come back home. Be brave. Our world needs it. Our world needs fools ready for the abyss. And when the person sitting next to you is brave and a fool and steps out and falls, be the Spirit people. Catch them. Set them back on their feet. Help them to go further down the path. You have done this for me. And I've seen you do it for each other. Part of the magic of a place like this is that for all of us, the day comes when whatever our lives have been, we do step into the abyss, into the unknown. Over the edge, not just of community and institution and received ideas, but over the edge of our very lives. The day comes. Whatever that abyss is, and you know, I don't care. I don't care what any of us think it is. I love all the stories. When the day comes for each one of us, too soon or too late, to step into nothingness, let us be for one another the Spirit people to guide each other home.
Are you the way I finally found?
that is another wow. So, To Extinguish Our Chalice, Failure and Success by Brennan Kiefer. For anyone who has looked through a deck of tarot cards, you may have found the Fool card. The card depicts a man with an unworried expression, eyes on the sky, walking straight towards a cliff's edge. His eyes on the sky represent striving towards high aims. His unworried expression represents courage, and the cliff's edge represents stepping willfully into the unknown. The archetype of the Fool is all about growth and development. If we never try and never take risks, then we will never grow. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm."
It feels like we're going on an adventure.
We have spent time together in these holy moments. Give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together in these holy moments. Give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again.